Hello, everybody. All right. Anyone know whose laptop this is? So I was just in the little lunchroom, and we were leaving. I'm like, someone left their laptop. And I'm like, going like, who the hell's laptop is this? Guess whose laptop this is? It's my laptop. Yeah. Apparently, this is a downward spiral from here. You know, like I don't think the intelligence returns. So that's great. I hope you all had a good lunch. We did. I was carbing up for the rest of the day. You know, a little pizza, a little more pizza. Trying to keep this whole thing going. It's working good. Come on in, settle it down over here. Come on. All right, it's looking good. Okay, so our next speaker, I've been looking so forward to hearing this. I love listening to this dude present in podcast and video form. Arguably one of the greatest living sales trainer, if not one of the greatest sales trainers of all time, and a very dynamic speaker, and someone I'm proud to call a client, and more importantly, I'm proud to call a friend, Mr. Ryan Stewman. Hey, Kern.
Forget being tired from lunch. Y'all gotta wake up this afternoon. What's up, man? Come on, just shake hands. Don't shake hands. Oh, gotcha. Of course. Thank you, Frank.
My man.
Appreciate it, man.
Right.
So before I get started, we're gonna talk some sales and some mindset stuff today. Is that okay with y'all? Y'all gonna be into that? Does anybody like making more money? Yeah. Y'all tired from lunch, man. Does anybody like making more money? Yeah. Okay, now y'all awake. Okay, I'm gonna wake y'all up. Like, that's what I do. They brought me on the stage after lunch because they knew y'all would be tired. And they knew you'd be like, oh man, that lunch was so good, Fleming's. Oh dude, that stuff was awesome. So they brought me up here to wake y'all back up so that Frank can extract money from y'all's wallets later on in the game, right? That's how this works, right? I'm the hype man. But before I get into my story, and the training that I've got for you guys. Look, I got swag, I got books and all sorts of stuff for you guys today. It's going to be like a circus act up here. That's what I do. I want to share something that I realized last night that was kind of a surreal moment for me. And I'm actually sit down and tell this story, and I'll get up in a second. So last night as we pulled in to this hotel room, I looked at the hotel and I said, I've been here before. Like, I've been here before for something. And I texted AJ Roberts, and I was like, AJ, me and you were here before for something. What the hell were we here for? And he's like, I don't know, man. He listed out 10 different events that we've been to together. And I said, well, whatever it was that we were here for, you actually gave me a ride to the event because I didn't have enough money to rent a car, and I didn't stay at this hotel because I didn't have enough money. Anybody ever put all their money in on an ad campaign that didn't work? Come on, you're lying. Anybody ever put an ad campaign? Okay, all right. And so I realized that, you know, I didn't stay here. I stayed up the street, and AJ gave me a ride to this place when we were in Kent Clothier's boardroom event. And I remember sitting in the audience where you're at right now and saying, you know what, the people on stage are kind of boring. You know, I wish somebody would give me a shot and let me on stage one of these days. And I had my secretary look it up last night. I was like, how long ago was I here at the boardroom event? How long do y'all think that was that I was that out of money and that inspired? Anybody take a guess? Anybody? You, sir. 10 years, 6 years. You're very flattering. Anybody else? It was December 14th of 2014. I flew here first class last night, which isn't saying much. And I bought 2 hotel rooms here, not because I just wanted an extra one to prove that I could do it, but I brought my cameraman with me. But the thing is, I sat exactly where you're at, and I looked up on this stage, and I said, one day I'm going to be up here, and I didn't realize that it was going to be for Frank's event. Hell, I told Frank in 2011, one day I'm going to speak at your event, and I'm sure we've all told that. Who's told Frank, one day I'm going to speak at your event? Boy, y'all are some low expectation having ass people. Y'all going to have to wake up this afternoon, right? And I told him, I said, one day I'm going to speak at your event. And he probably thought the same thing that he thinks about when everybody says that, like, oh, sure, everybody says that. Well, he hit me up like less than 48 hours ago, and he's like, look, somebody canceled. I don't have any other friends. I don't know anybody else. Can you show up? And then here I am, right? It's like, luckily my schedule was free, and I just kind of showed up here. But no, actually what happened was he asked me 3 weeks ago, I believe it was, Frank. Hey, you interested in speaking at my event? What do you want me to talk about? I don't know. I don't have a plan. Just show up. It'll be good. And so here I am. But it was a surreal moment for me because two things last night clicked inside of my head. It's like, number one, I get to be on the same stage that I watched other people. Like Kent Clothier, he's like one of the baddest dudes in real estate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him or not, but I mean, he's an amazing fella that's done some amazing stuff in the real estate industry. And the people that he had at his event were folks like Roland Frazier, which I know Frank knows really well, and several other just badass people. And then to be able to come on this stage at Frank's event at this hotel was like a surreal moment for me last night. And you know, it's like, it's a big honor to be up here, first of all, and I'm going to leave an extreme amount of value with you guys. If y'all are okay with that, if you don't like value, I can get up here and say a bunch of bullshit too. I got dick jokes for days and things like that. But I want to leave an extreme amount of value with you guys. And it's just like a really cool moment that I wanted to take a couple of seconds and a couple minutes to tell my story and kind of live that moment with you guys. So before I get started, how many people in this room, and it's okay, and it's not for ego, but how many people have no clue who I am? Please raise your hand. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. First of all, I need to be doing my damn job better. Second of all, I like it when people don't know who I am because I'm about to shake your fucking world up. Now listen, I cuss a lot, okay? It's because I'm a passionate person and I believe in what I'm doing and I believe in this stuff and I'm an excitable guy. And so if cussing bothers you, you probably shouldn't be at Frank's event anyway, right? But I probably cuss a little bit more than Frank, but not for those shock factor or pattern interrupts just because I'm from the South and I'm from Texas and shit, that's what we do. We just cuss a lot, right? When we don't know what word to say, we're like, shit, it just fits in there perfectly with everything. And so what I'm going to teach you guys first is some mindset stuff. Are you guys okay with that? Okay? You're not going to believe my story. Those of you that don't know me, there's a few people in the room that as soon as I walked in, they're like, oh shit, it's on this afternoon. But for those of you that don't know me, I'm about to blow your mind, okay? Because I don't care. We have a saying in my company. It's called fuck your excuses. So whatever excuse that you might have right now that's keeping you from doing whatever it is that you're supposed to do in life, I'm going to remove that from you this afternoon or at least make you feel like you're an asshole for having it. But how many of you would like to get rid of the excuses in your life, right? And those of you that didn't raise your hand, what kind of excuse are you carrying that you're addicted to, right? Like, what is going on with you guys? Are y'all just, if it's too heavy, ask your neighbor, they'll help you lift it up, right? So I know we all eat lunch and get a little tired, but we have a saying in our company, fuck your excuses, and I have every excuse in the world why I should be homeless around here. There should be no reason for me to be on this stage. There should be no reason for me to be able to afford a suit, let alone a nice watch and a first-class flight here and the lifestyle that I live. And I'm going to take you through that process, not by telling you my story, but telling you a story that's going to blow your mind. You guys ready for this? All right, cool. So let me see here. Let me write something down. I want you to write this down on your paper. I want you to write the force of average. I think Frank mentioned it earlier. He said, anybody ever had a bad month or a good month followed by a bad month? Anybody in the room? Really? You guys are killing me. Okay. I'm going to make you raise your hand. Listen, we're going to get some exercise in this afternoon. I'm going to make you raise your hand. You're going to have to do, you're going to have to do some arm extensions a few times this afternoon. That's kind of my thing, okay? So anybody ever had a good month followed by a horrible month? Right? Anybody ever had an awesome relationship in life that you fucked up followed by some psycho hose beast that you had afterwards? Okay, now we're talking business here, ladies and gentlemen, right? Anybody ever been in the best shape of their life only to screw that up and then start gaining a massive amount of weight, right? Like, okay, now we're talking. That's something called the force of average, because here's what I want you to know. The moment your mother squeezed you out of her birth canal, the world started lying to you. The world started lying to you. It started deceiving you. It started lying to you, and it started misguiding you. Not just the world, but every person in the world, everything that you've seen in this world, and everything beyond. You know why? Because the moment that we come out of the birth canal, we're told that there's this thing called happily ever after. Well, newsflash, folks, happily ever after is fucking bullshit. What is ever after? Ever after is death. What is your end game? He said, you know, Frank mentioned up here, if I just make $1 million, I'm done. If I just make $10 million, I'm done. If I could just do X, I would be done. There's never done, never for us entrepreneurs. The only thing that's done for us is when life's over. You see, but we're told all of our life that there's this thing called happily ever after. The world tells us if we just graduate high school, then we'll live happily ever after. If we just become the prom king, we'll live happily ever after. If we just become the captain of the football team, we'll live happily ever after. Then we graduate high school, we're like, well, if we just go to college and get a degree, we'll live happily ever after. And then we graduate college, we say, if we just find the woman of our dream, then we'll live happily ever after. And ladies, y'all even have it worse. Because they've been lying to you, telling you that if you kiss enough frogs, they'll turn into a prince. I guarantee you, in the history of science, there has never been a frog that is converted into a prince. So why the hell would you be kissing them in the first place? Right? It just doesn't happen, but we're lied to our entire lives. We're told that there's this thing called happily ever after. So we spend our whole entire lives looking for something, thinking that if we get this thing, then the results that we get from that thing will provide us with eternal happiness. Anybody in this room eternally happy? This is the one time you don't have to raise your hands. And probably the ones that you did are full of shit. There was 2 of you. Congratulations. So, and you're probably in for a big surprise really soon. So we spend our whole lives looking for this thing called happily ever after. We think, okay, now that I've graduated college, if I just make $1 million, I'll live happily ever after. How many people have made $1 million in their lifetime? Do you feel like you live happily ever after, or do you feel like there's always another level? Right? Do you feel like, how many people made $10 million in their lifetime in this room? Do you feel like there's happily ever after, or do you feel like you got to go to the next level? Right? You didn't make $10 million and cash out, or you wouldn't be here. Like when you see people in Vegas gambling, I watched a video one time where a dude made $3.5 million gambling. He started with $100,000, made $3.5 million gambling, and if he would have taken that money, he would have probably lived happily ever after. But it showed 6 hours lapse of time, and he spent every damn dollar of it trying to get that same feeling back. Do you know that the world tricks you? The world gets you addicted to chasing the thrill of winning, but not actually winning. Do you know the serotonin, the oxytocin, the drug, the chemical in our head that we get from when we gamble or when we chase internet marketing or when we launch a Facebook ad or when we create a funnel or whatever it is, we get addicted to that, the actual chase, as opposed to the actual win. And that's some caveman shit. There's a genetic reason for it. It's not like we were just like, well, we're just going to pull this big trick and get them addicted to the chase and not the win. But it's because as a cave dweller, as we left the cave, if we weren't addicted to hunting more food, then we would eat one deer, think we lived happily ever after, and we would perish, and none of us would be in this room millions of years later. And so what happens is the mass markets know how to distract you and how to get you focused on the thrill of the chase instead of actually winning. But how many people in this room would like to actually fucking win for the rest of their life? Not just one time, but for the rest of your life. Can I get some noise? For the rest of your life, right? That's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm going to help you with. Because let's just say that there's no such thing as happily ever after. But let's just say that the one thing that the world is trying to do is distract you because it knows that the strongest weapon against distraction is in between your skull, in between your 2 ears, and that's your brain that allows you to focus. Anybody in this room ever been in focus mode and made some amazing shit happen in their life? Amazing shit, right? Like you were in focus mode and you wrote copy. You know, Frank mentioned he'd come up here and he's like, you know, I'd rather stab myself with a rusty screwdriver and catch tetanus as opposed to writing sales copy. But when you hammer down and you focus and you write that sales copy, it can turn into a $5, $10, $15 million sales letter. Am I correct? Absolutely. But because focus is the one thing that combats the distraction that the world tries to distract us from happily ever after. Instead of focusing on happily ever after, something that doesn't exist, we need to focus on the struggle, something that's around every corner. You see, we get all looking at happily ever after, something that's not real, and our focus goes, if I just have this and I focus on this, then I'll be happily ever after. But what happens is the struggle shows up and slaps the shit out of us. We're like, where did that come from? And we start playing victims, and we start getting scared and everything else. We think, oh man, struggle's in my life. I don't like conflict. I just want to go back to my comfort zone. And that's the trick from the force of average. So where's my religious people in the room? All 3 of you. Great. This is going to be a great crowd. Where's my sinners? All right. 3 of y'all too. We got some conflicting people out here. We got some contemplators in the audience, right? So what I'm about to share with you, I'm just going to ask you to take your religious hat off, right? I've read the Bible, I've read the Quran, I've read the Torah, I've read the Book of Mormon. You name it, I've read it. You'll learn why in a few minutes. I will shock you. I had some spare time on my hands a few times in my life. Those that know me are giggling a little bit. But I have read most religious books, And first of all, financially, it pays better to be a Muslim because they require the least amount of tithe. I'm just saying, just putting that out there for you. So if you're into saving money, that would be the most profitable religion. Second of all, I'm going to ask you to remove that religious hat from your life for a second because I'm going to share something with you that's kind of out of this world, that's out of the normal religious thinking. And if you look through what I'm about to tell you, if you hear what I'm about to tell you through the lens of religiousness, you're going to miss the point of it. You see, I have one talent only. That's taking big, complex, complicated shit and making it real fucking simple. But here's what I know about smart people like you in the audience. You like to complicate shit that's real simple, right? It's like Frank said earlier, he said, well, all you gotta do is do the shit that I told you to do yesterday and you'll be fine. But what if I do this, right? Like we all like to complicate. What if this happens? We like to complicate shit, but the world works on simplicity. One of the things I learned from John Carlton when I first started writing copy was if you write above a 5th grade reading level, you will lose the majority of your audience, correct? Anybody know this principle? When you write in Grammarly or anything like that, if you try to sound like you're some kind of Harvard college professor, guess what? Did anybody in this room go to Harvard? Yeah, that's the one time I didn't expect anybody to raise their hands either, right? So how the hell is Harvard education level stuff going to make sense to us? So I'm going to take something that's super complicated and I'm going to make it super easy. But here's what's going to happen. The force of average is going to step in and it's going to make you try to overcomplicate it and say, well, that shit won't work for me, which is bullshit. Because that's another trick of the force of average. So let's just say this blue planet that we're floating in outer space on, right, is a microchip inside of a server. I have this friend, Howard Getson. I live in Dallas, Texas. And I have this friend, Howard Getson, and he is a hedge fund manager. He has billions of dollars under management in his hedge fund. And when you walk into his office, he doesn't have dudes on the phone calling a bunch of people. His clients are the CEO of American Airlines, the CEO of almost every Fortune 500 company, actually Fortune 50 company out there. The minimum to buy into his company is $10 million, right? So he don't mess with no broke people, you know what I mean? And his company is based on coders. If you walk in, instead of a floor full of traders, he has a room about this size with about this many people in it that are coding mathematical codes, creating an algorithm. And that algorithm is how they trade. So as a stock starts trending, this algorithm that they're creating watches stocks, and as soon as the stock peaks, they start dumping it. So they never lose money. How awesome would that be if you never lost money in life? What other investment can you say that you never lose money? This is why the rich get richer, because you got to have $10 million to get in on in shit like this, right? I'm like, hey, yo, Howard, I got like 10 G's on that. And he's like, I'll take you to lunch. And so anyway, when you walk into Howard's office and you go through all the coder in the room and stuff like this, and you go through the back doors, there's this room where you have to have a lab coat, and it's freezing fucking cold in there, and there's servers, okay? And it's like, you ever seen a picture of like Google where it's like nothing but servers, and it's the cold room and the microchips and stuff like that? And in each one of these servers, they're black. And if you've ever noticed those same pictures, the servers are black, right? They're full of darkness. And there's little chips that fit inside of each one of these servers. And he says that if my internet moves at 1 million bits per second, his internet moves at 1 trillion bits per second. Think of how much faster his shit is than ours. Again, this is why the rich get richer. And so on this planet, let's just say that we're one of these chips inside this dark server. Let's say that there's no God, that there's a divine coder. Let's say somebody like my friend Howard or somebody like Zuckerberg just coded this planet. Anybody in here ever play video games? When you play video games, there's a code that you can, like if you run into the wall, like your character, he just like sits against the wall until you turn around and he goes somewhere else, right? So let's just say that this planet has been coded a certain way, but guess what? Our mind is the one thing that can break through that code. But the problem is most of us struggle with the mindset. And so the code on this planet is called the force of average. The reason why you have a good month and then a shitty month is because everything on this planet is trying to average you out. You see, every time you step out and you do something massive to make a huge change in life, gravitational pull pushes against you to try to get you back down to average, because guess what? If you do some above average shit, then you just change the whole grading curve for the whole class and everybody gets pissed off at you. Any smart people in here ever done that? Yeah, me neither. So here's what I know. Everything on this planet wants to keep you average, so you have to be aware of that. And one of the things that it does to keep you average is it says, hey, there's this thing called happily ever after. And you chase this happily ever after thing, and then you attain it. And then what do we do oftentimes when we attain the one goal that we set for ourselves? We find a way to fuck it up. I was sitting in the back before Frank took stage, and we were having a little quick conversation. And he said, how's things going? I said, things are going awesome, man. We made $75,000 yesterday. And I said, we had a record day for just being like a normal, regular day of the week, nothing going on. Like we've done some, $1 million days at our events and things like that. And I said, but just for having a normal, regular Monday, we kicked some ass, man. We did $75,000 in sales. And he goes, good, you've got to find a way to fuck it up. But that's the way the world programs you, right? It's like, oh shit, we don't deserve this stuff. Oh shit, we got to figure out some way to like, okay, so I attained happily ever after, but shit, tomorrow's still around the corner. What are we going to do with ever after? And so the world wants to distract you, and the world wants to keep you from attaining your goals, and the world wants to keep you from that happily ever after thing. And so what happens is the only thing that we can combat only thing that we can combat the distraction of happily ever after is by staying focused. You guys hear what I'm saying? You guys getting this? I know it got really quiet really quick, right? But I was taking a big concept, making it easy. So this planet has been coded on average. And Newton's law is, for every action there is a... So that means if you have a good month, what's going to happen next? Right? If you find the woman of your... How many people... You don't have to raise your hand on this one. I'm going to raise my hand. How many people have found the woman of their dreams or the business partner of their dreams and found some way to fuck it up? Men, it's okay. You don't have to raise your hands. I have friends all the time. They're like, I found my dream woman. Awesome. 2 weeks later, hey, where's your dream woman? Fuck, I fucked her friend. Ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Some of y'all are the friends. But this is what happens. We don't feel like we deserve the things that we work all of our life for because we focus on something that's not real, which is happily ever after, when really the thing that is real is the distraction. You see, the biggest trick the force of average put on us is to find this happily ever after, and the biggest thing that it does, the tool of the force of average, is to keep us distracted. How many people in here are working on more than one project at a time? You're fucked. You know why? Because according to neuroscientists, only 3% of the population can multitask. Good fucking chances it's none of us, because none of y'all raised your hand when I asked who went to Harvard. Think about that for a minute. But yet it's a distraction to keep us from completing the things. See, one thing I've been blessed in my life to be able to do is focus and make sure that I finish one task before I move on to the next, right? Most people, they'll start one thing, they'll get 3/4 of the way through, and then what happens? They switch and they go do something else. You know why? Because first of all, when you finish something, you put your foot down and you say, this is what I've done, judge me. And most people are scared of that judgment. I launched a product yesterday called Phone Sites, and it's the world's first landing page sales funnel creation software that you do not need a computer for, and that you can create an entire landing page and sales funnel in less than 5 minutes from your mobile device. So you guys have heard of ClickFunnels? You can literally create my stuff while you're taking a dump. It's like shit funnels. It really is, right? Like, within 5 minutes, you can have an entire landing page, a video, a sales page, and a buy button put up within 5 minutes from your mobile device. And it's so easy that my 6-year-old, who has my genes, he's not the smartest, he's not the sharpest like knife in the drawer, he can pick it up on his phone and create a whole entire website. But I finished that thing, and I put my foot down yesterday, and I said, oh shit, now everybody's got to judge me. Right? People are going to say, oh, this isn't ClickFunnels, it doesn't do this. Or, oh, this isn't Lead Pages, it doesn't do this. Oh, this isn't Carta, it doesn't do this. Or this isn't Unbounce Pages, but I finished the thing start to finish and said, judge me, marketplace. And guess what? Like I said yesterday, we had a record day, and it was only day one. And now you might be thinking, well, if it's day one, of course it's a record day. What kind of previous records did you have before that? This is internet marketing, folks. That's how the shit works, in case you haven't paid attention, right? I see some of y'all old school folks got that one. So anyway, but most people, they get distracted because they're scared of being judged on the completed project, which is a distraction, which is a trick from the force of average. You see, I know that there's 4 areas of life. I learned it from a friend of mine named Kevin Nations. I learned that there's 4 areas of life that you got to focus on: faith, family, finances, and fitness. And for my entire life, I focused on 2 of those 4. Therefore, I would have a meteoric rise, like I'm talking about a SpaceX trip to Mars, and then I would have a crash where anybody ever been to rock bottom? I like to go to rock bottom with a jackhammer and see if we could just dig that motherfucker a little deeper. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that's my style. Friday, I was at a meeting with Jeff Bezos. Yes, that guy. And this is my life these days, right? I'm not trying to brag, but I just hang out with guys like Jeff Bezos. I was at a meeting with Jeff Bezos, and he says this. He says, well, we're trying to, I shit you not, this is what this guy says. He said, well, we're trying to move manufacturing from Earth to Mars because of the CO2 emissions would make more sense in Mars's atmosphere to keep humans safe here on Earth. And I went, damn, I'm still trying to work on that one sales funnel for that one damn book. This motherfucker's talking about like outsourcing his manufacturing to robots in Mars, right? But here's a guy who's beat the force of average. He's the world's richest man. He said on Friday, his net worth is $128 billion. He has over 600,000 employees, and as a salesman, I can celebrate the fact that he is the baddest salesman on the planet. And people go, well, he's not a salesman. Really? So what does he not sell? Please tell me. He is the best salesman on the planet, right? But he's broken through that force of average. But if you don't think that every day some shit shows up against him to hold him down in his life, you're crazy. You know what? He even drives a Honda Accord to work every day. Hell, I show up in a McLaren every day. This guy drives a Honda Accord because he's fighting the force of average because he probably doesn't believe that he deserves Lamborghinis and McLarens and stuff like that because he's focused. That and the fact that he's probably got to answer to shareholders like me is like, hey, man, you know, you're getting paid enough money as it is. What do you need all these fancy cars for? So here's the thing. When you get focused, that's when you get results. And the biggest tool to fight the force of average is focus. And when you get focused on something, you cannot be distracted. And I'm going to teach you how to be focused here in a minute. But when you get focused on something, there is no way to distract you, no way to throw you off your game. We've all been in the zone, right? Like we get in the zone and we face something and we're like, dude, I'm in my zone. I crushed that sales letter. I crushed that sales funnel. My Facebook ad made me a whole bunch of money. And then guess what happens? You fall out of the zone. You're like a DWI. You're just like swerving into other lanes, right? You fall out of the zone. But see, the key is staying focused because that's the one thing that we got to combat the force of average. But the force of average is going to send the struggle every single day of your life. Every single day we wake up. I know when I wake up in the morning, I don't go, oh, it's going to be a great day with rainbows and sunshine and a bunch of West Hollywood gratefulness, right? It's going to be a tough day, and I know that I'm going to have an employee do something stupid. I know that I'm going to have an ad breakdown. I know that I'm going to get denied over here. I know I'm going to have all these problems, and I know these things are going to show up in my life. And so what I do is I focus, okay, so I'm focused on making this happen, and if these things try to distract me from making this happen, then it's my job to solve those problems along the way without letting them distract me. So you think, how do you do that? How do you stay focused in a world full of distractions? Well, do you guys realize that 4,000 times a day we are advertised to? 4,000 distractions, and that's just advertisements. That's not business issues. That's not, women, right? That's not fancy things that we want. That's just advertisements, $4,000 a day. And for ladies, I meant men too, right? Or whatever you're into. Who am I to judge? And so we are distracted 4,000 times a day just from advertisements. That's not counting your kids. My kid will say, will you buy me that? Will you buy me that? Will you buy me that? He'll say that 4,000 times a day to distract me. We have a rule in my house. I worked from home for 6 years. Now I'm blessed. I have an office where I get to get away from everybody at home. I have an office and in one of the nicest buildings in Dallas, Texas. And I love working there, and dude is just awesome. Google is one floor above us. Man, if you think the people in internet marketing are weird, you should see the fuckers that work for Google. These guys are fucking really weird. If you ever want to know who turns down your ads at Google, I know that motherfucker. He's weird. He does not like you or want you to win. He is a trick from the force of average. Anyway, when I worked at home for many years, we had a rule at my house, the no ambush rule. Unless you were on my schedule, you do not come into my office. I had a little office in my house with like French doors. I bought my home. I lived in this penthouse first, and it was all open concept like this. And after living there for 2 years, I'm like, oh, hell no, I got to get some boundaries and some borders. I got to keep these kids out. I got to keep the wife out and all this other stuff. So we moved into my house. What I did was I built an office with French doors, and I locked them damn things with a deadbolt. And even my wife, I love her. And if you've seen my wife, you'd be like, I love her too. She's really hot, right? Like, she's Natalia level hot. And she's a great woman. There's only one woman on this world that could put up with me. I know, because 3 have divorced me. And so she's like a great woman. But I have this no ambush rule because I got to stay focused. And so I live my life by a calendar. You see, what happens is everybody in this room is your own boss. Right? You work for yourself. You're an entrepreneur, your own boss. So guess what? The idle mind is the devil's playground. Okay, now I'm getting back religious on you. But the idle mind is the devil's playground. So when you're not being told what to do, what do? You stay distracted. That's the natural tendency, the natural thing to do. So what I do is, I learned this a long time ago. My entire life has been built on an alibi in my calendar. First of all, because I watched way too many First 48 cases, and I'm like, if they ever come for me, it's like, no, sir, you see, I was here at this location at this time doing this thing, right? But the thing is, like, my life is based on a calendar. I schedule date night. I schedule time with my kids. I schedule every task that I'm supposed to do every single day, and I stay on task. It's like right now I got 30 minutes and 7 seconds left on this clock. I'm racing the clock every single day to make sure I stay focused, and there's nothing that can distract me. In my office, I have the corner office, obviously, because I'm the fucking boss. I have the corner office in our office, and I have a sign on the outside of my office, and it says, do not disturb, just like the signs that they have here in the hotel room. And my employees know. You can ask Frank, wherever the hell he's at around here. They know, because he learned the hard way. On his first day, he came through that door without, like, during the time that I wasn't supposed to be here. It's like, there's fucking one rule in here, sir. And if you would like to keep your job, do not fucking come through that door when I'm in here with that thing on there. And it's because I don't want to be ambushed. I don't want to be distracted, because distractions are tricks from the force of average to keep you from realizing your greatness. You see, but here's the thing. We were all born with a destiny. We were all born with a voice in the back of our head guiding us to exactly what we were supposed to do. How many people are in a position right now where you're successful, but for many years, you fought doing what you were doing now? So can I tell you a little bit about my story, and then we'll talk about some sales stuff, right? See, your most impressionable years as a human being are between ages 3 and 7. Most people never comprehensively mature past age 7. Most of you are still 7 years old in your way of thinking. No offense. But most of you are still 7 years old. It's just scientific fact, right? Don't be mad at me. Be mad at, Stephen Hawkins or whoever the hell came up with it. Smarter people than us, since none of us went to fucking Harvard, right? But most people they never mature past 7 years old. When I was 5 years old, when I was 4 years old, my family was rich. They owned banks. My grandfather created the 3-shift per day work shift. See, people were working 2 shifts per day up until the 60s. They were working 12-hour shifts at Johnson & Johnson. My grandfather said, well, what if we just made them work 8 hours a day and we had 3 shifts? And he went, it's fucking brilliant. It's like, this is where I get my shit from, right? And he was an entrepreneur. He owned glass factories. He was a consultant. My other grandfather was a banker. So, like, when I was young, man, I was braced for death. Like, I was braced to win in life. I was destined to win. My family was very well-to-do until the S&Ls crashed in the 80s, and my grandparents that owned the banks lost everything, and my other grandparents that had everything with the banks lost all their shit too. My grandmother went to federal prison because she tried to keep the local farmers afloat, and she cooked the books in the bank to be able to help the local townspeople, because we grew up in the country, and they shoot people and bury you on their ranch, never to be found again. And so she was trying to keep those people happy. My father and my mother divorced about the same time because they couldn't take it. My mother left me, my father left me. I got adopted all before I was age 7. Then I got to show up at school at age 8. And I was born Ryan Russell McCord. My name today is Ryan Keith Stewman. I show up at school, and the kids are like, who the hell's Ryan Keith Stewman? I'm like, me? And they're like, but you were just Ryan Russell McCord. Oh, your dad doesn't love you. Kids can be so fucking mean, right? Like, it's true, but God damn it, could you just spare my feelings a little bit, right? It was at that moment that I knew that school wasn't for me, first of all, right? And we learned how we are. I got adopted. The people that adopted me, my stepfather abused the shit out of me. I remember one time he choked me so much that the capillaries in my eyes busted, my eyes covered in blood. The inside of my eyes, not the outside. By the time I was 15, I ran away from home. Like most people that run away from home, I quit school. Like most people that quit school, I started doing drugs. Like most people that have a drug habit, I started doing drugs. Like most people that do drugs, I end up selling drugs. Like most people that sell drugs, I end up getting in some trouble with the police. I sniffed cocaine one time in my entire life, and I died from that shit. That's right, I've been dead. Then when they brought me back to life, thankfully, they arrested me and sent me to prison for 2 years. It's like, could you not have just let me fucking die? But now I know that I'm here for a real fucking reason. I've been dead, I've been through hell, and I've been back. So while I was in prison for 2 years. 9 months I spent time in this place. You can look it up online. It's called Beto 1, one of the worst prisons in the United States. It's in Tennessee Colony, Texas. During the 9 months I was there, was 160-something murders. Every other day, a fucking helicopter would fly in there and pull people out. They were throwing people off the 3rd story, and there was 6,500 people in this unit, and 300 of us were white. You want to talk about a rough fucking experience. And I weighed about 120 pounds. I looked like a T with a golf ball sitting on top of it. I was so skinny because I'd been fucking strung out doing drugs and everything else. I learned a lesson inside of prison, though. I said, you know what? I'm never going back to this shit. I got out, I cleaned my life up. I went to work for a car wash, and I told myself I'm going to be the best damn car wash guy on the planet. And if I work hard enough at this car wash, maybe, just maybe, one day, I can own this car wash. Well, there was a customer that was a regular at the car wash. She came in, and one day she said, dude, every time I come in here, you like sell me some shit, and then you go vacuum my car, and then you go wipe it off out front. Who the fuck are you? You know, you're like the Superman of the car wash business? And I'm like, yes, I am. She said, I'd like to give you a job. And I said, well, first of all, lady, despite these handsome looks here, I was 20 at the time, things have changed. But I said, despite these handsome looks here and lack of tattoos, I'm a convicted felon, and I work here at this car wash for a reason. Can you say force of average? Somebody's offering me to level up, and I'm trying to stay average. She said, well, I work in the mortgage business, and you'll fit in great. And so I took her up on her job. I'm like, well, car wash, mortgages. So I show up the first day of work in the mortgage industry, dressed like a car wash guy. I had like boots on and like Wrangler jeans and a shirt that probably had a few stains on it. And I remember there was a gay dude that worked there, and he's like, we're going to go shopping after work today. I was like, look, man, I've been to jail. I don't know what you're trying to do to me. Well, I'm just saying, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, if we go on shopping, I'm buying, okay? You're not going to buy me shit. And he goes, no, seriously, man, I want to take you under my wing, and I want to help you out. No weird shit going on here. I really, truly want to help you out. And he did. And within 90 days, I'd made $21,000, which used to take me 3/4 of a year to make in the car wash business. This was 2003. By the time 2005 rolled around, I'd made $773,000 in 1 year. I literally went from some poor bastard that had left home, been abused, been fucked up, mentally like warped, everything else, to like on top of the world. But I still didn't have my shit together. And the police kicked in my door again thinking I sold drugs. And I'm trying to lecture the police. I'm like, look, nobody comes to this neighborhood to buy drugs, right? They go to the poor neighborhood. They didn't find any drugs in my house because I had given up drugs about halfway through my prison sentence. I said I would never touch a drug again. But what happened was I had a gun. And in Texas, we're in California, so you guys will get this. In Texas, after you've committed a crime, they don't give a fuck. You can have guns. They love guns in Texas. If you don't think they love guns in Texas, ask anybody in Texas, do they have a gun? And they're like, fuck yeah, I got a gun. Where the fuck are you from? California, right? Like, I'm telling you, that's just how they are there. And so I had a gun too. They raided my house and they found the gun and they charged me with felon in possession of firearm. But in Texas, 5 years after your conviction date, you can have a gun. And I was within that legal period, and it was in my primary residence, so I beat the case. Okay, $773,000. And all of a sudden I'm in jail, fighting court, spending every resource I have, fucking pay for lawyers. Those guys are great people, right? If you're a lawyer, don't get mad at me. But like, we know how you get paid. It's no fucking secret. And so it's no secret. And so I go and I beat the case, and I think everything's perfect. I get the job of my dreams. I go back and I make another $300,000, and guess what? The ATF shows up. Turns out in Texas, guns are kind of like marijuana here in California. If you get pulled over by the local police and you have marijuana on you, it's like no big deal. They're like, hey, just make sure you're not smoking this shit before you go home, and or you could get a DWI. However, if the DEA pulls you over, you're fucked because it's not a federally legal thing to have. Same way with guns in Texas. But I didn't get my it's not federally legal memo from the fucking ATF when I got out of prison, so I didn't know this. So now I'm fighting a federal case. I don't know if you know how much a state case costs, but I promise you a federal case is about 10 times as much. And so I'm distracted. I was focused on mortgages, making $700,000 a year. And all of a sudden, I'm focused on this court case. I've been distracted. The force of average is getting me. I rose this meteoric rise in a short period of time, in 2 years, making all this money. And all of a sudden, my entire world's crashing around me. I got news that I was going to have to go spend 15 months in federal prison behind this damn gun thing. Now, mind you, they kicked in my door for drugs. I didn't have any drugs. And still, I got to go and deal with this shit. So you guys ever had a moment where you're like, God, if you're out there, what the fuck? Right? I had one of those moments, right? So I go in, I marry the woman that I've been with for 3 years. And I made her executor of my estate so that she could handle things while I was in there. 90 days into my prison sentence, she surprised me with a visit. She said, look, I don't want you to be mad at me, but I'm in love with the landscaper. We've decided to spend all the money. I had 32 houses. $500,000 cash in my bank account. Now, mind you, just a few years before, I was in prison working at a car wash and shit like that. I walked out of federal prison. It'll be July 11th this year. It'll be 10 years. July 11th, 2008, I walked out of federal prison with $25 in my name. I stand on stage in front of you today with an 8-figure net worth. I have 7 cars, 4 houses, 10 businesses. We make more money than my CPA likes to keep up with. And I don't say that to brag, but I say that because I've beat this force of average, because I understand that the one thing that you can fight the force of average with is focus. And so today, my life is everything that I've wanted it to be because I focus on 4 areas. You see, forever, I mentioned this earlier, I focused on finances and fitness. I'm in decent shape, and I focus on finance, my business, but forever, I disregarded faith. And I disregarded my family. You know, I would always tell my kids, you know, I'll play with you later. Tell my wife, you know what, we'll have a good life after I make a bunch of money. Any of you guys do that? Honey, leave me alone, I'm focused on work. But you have to focus in 4 areas of life to keep that balance to truly win. And I don't mean faith as in God. You have to have faith in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, especially those of you that are coaches and entrepreneurs and authors, if you don't have faith in yourself, how the fuck is anybody else going to have faith in you? If you don't have faith in yourself, how are you going to confidently make offers to the marketplace to change their life? You see, so many of us walk around with insecurities and inferiority complexes because we don't have faith in ourselves. And we think, oh, well, if I'll just rely on God, and I'm not knocking God, but I promise you, God's never showed up and said, hey, here I am, I got a shovel, I'm ready to dig this hole with you. What God's relying on is for you to do the work yourself. You have to have faith in yourself that you can believe that you can accomplish the things that you want. And more importantly, you have to believe the things that you deserve. You have to believe that you deserve the things that you get in life. I deserved the prison sentence. I wasn't doing right. I deserved the divorce. I wasn't treating my family right. You know, when my wife left me in prison, it was her opportunity to say, hey, you know what? He didn't really pay much attention to me when he was out. You know, he was always worried about work. And I always told myself, if I just make enough money, all the other shit will fall into place. Anybody ever told themselves that? That is bullshit. Money's a big, huge factor on planet because love won't get you a bus ticket, goddammit. But at the same time, you have to focus on those 4 areas. And the second that you let the force of average distract you from one of those areas, you start losing in life. And I know what you're thinking about this moment. You're like, okay, so when's the sales stuff start? But I want you guys to understand this because here's what's going to happen when you leave this seminar. You're going to leave and the struggle is going to slap you. You're going to have a great idea. You're going to go, Andy said this, Frank said this, that weird dude talking about prison said this, and I want to get after that. And then Monday, what happens? Your wife fights with you. Your husband fights with you. The IRS calls you and says that you made an underpayment since we're in tax season and you owe some more money. Facebook denies your ad. Your funnel doesn't work correctly. You've got your ads guy asking for more money. One of your employees doesn't show up to work, and so on and so forth. The struggle is going to be there to keep you off of track, to be focused on the one thing that's going to keep you winning. And so I want you to leave here and be aware that the struggle's out there, and be aware that shit's gonna try to sidetrack you, and be aware that things are gonna try to take you off your game. And the fastest thing you can do is get out of that reset period. The reset period is the time between when you're focused and when you're distracted. The fastest thing you can do is get out of that reset period as quick as possible and say, oh shit, I'm being distracted. It's time for me to move forward again. Because this whole planet, Newton's law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This whole planet's coded to make you feel great and then feel like shit. For every high, there's a low. Junkies, people that do crack, heroin, meth, they're not chasing that high anymore. They're avoiding that low. And so what we do out here is we stop chasing the high, we start getting insecure, and we start avoiding that low. And what I'm telling you is the low is going to show up, and you have to embrace it and solve whatever problem by being focused on it is what's going to allow you to get ahead of the game. You guys feel me on this one? You feel like you learned something there? You feel like maybe I just shifted your mind a little bit? The room always gets quiet about this time because I say some real shit, some shit you probably never heard of before, some things that, you know, other people won't just stand up here and tell you. And I speak from experience. I'm not up here judging you. When I ask you to raise your hand, I'm not sitting here judging you. When I ask you to raise your hand, I'm not going, you, sir, you are a fuck up. I'm not doing that. I'm saying, man, look, I'm the worst fuck up in this room. But if I can make it here, and these are the tools that I've learned to be up here on this stage and to be able to talk to you guys this way, then that's all you've got to do is just follow in the footsteps that I've got out there and stay focused on those 4 areas of your life, right? So when it comes to sales, I'm going to make this shift real quick because, first of all, you can make all the sales in the world, but if you're like me and you make $770,000 in a year and then you blow it on some dumb shit like lawyers and going to court and getting in trouble, then it does you no good. So I wanted to work on your mindset first. And I got about 20 minutes left. I know it says 14, but you guys can wait. And so I want to talk to you guys about the easiest things to close sales, all right? I started off as the hardcore closer. That was what I originally started as my original business. Now I own a company. I still own that company, and we do well. We do a couple $1 million a year in that company, but the main company that I operate from is a company called Break Free Academy, where we teach entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, authors. I mean, if you look me up on Amazon, you'll see I've written the foreword for hundreds of books because I've helped those people write books. If you Google my name, you'll see that I'm in Forbes. You'll see that entrepreneurs written stories about me going to prison, from penitentiary to the penthouse, and articles and things of that nature. And I don't pay for PR. I don't have a PR company. I don't have anybody that like looks out for me and does these things. And you know, the news is up. Like, these are things just from me gaining attention and putting sweat in has caused these things to the media outlets to take attention to me. But I started off as a sales trainer, and I know that there's only 2 things that you need to be able to close sales. You guys ready for this? Empathy and confidence. Write them down. Again, look, simple shit. I know you're going to discredit. You're going to go, dude, that's not all it takes. It's going to take a sales letter, a funnel, a VSL, a follow-up autoresponder. It takes 2 things to close sales, empathy and confidence. And if you'll base your autoresponders, your VSLs, and everything around these 2 things, your life will change. So, does anybody know what empathy truly is? See, a lot of people confuse empathy with sympathy. Like, oh, you poor bastard. That's sympathy, right? Empathy is an understanding of an individual situation. And what most salespeople do is they try to talk their way into a sale. But what I've noticed in my lifetime, making over 50,000 sales in my lifetime, is that most people are likely to talk themselves out of a sale than they are into a sale. Anybody ever, I sold cars, mortgages, all sorts of shit in my years. And I used to watch people sell cars, and I'd be like, if he would just shut the fuck up, they would have signed 10 minutes ago, and they're leaving, right? Anybody ever seen somebody do that? A salesperson just talk themselves like, oh, he had it. Oh, don't oh, shit, it's gone, right? Because he who speaks the least earns the most. Write that down. That's the #1 rule in sales. He who speaks the least earns the most. If you transcribe your sales conversations and you out-talked your prospect, you lost. You didn't close that sale. If you transcribe your sales conversations and they talk more than you did, are you writing with 2 damn pencils at the same time? What kind of superhuman X-Man person are you? Holy shit. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but did that really fucking happen? Are you like writing half a sentence? Holy, do you teach that? Holy, you could be the richest person in the room if you just, here's how you can write twice as fast. But she's literally writing with 2 hands over there. Are you like the drummer for Def Leppard? What is going on over there? That is amazing. I don't know what you were doing. For all I know, you were drawing squiggly lines because you're bored out of your mind, but that's fucking amazing. I'm just praying that you were writing a book. So back to my story. I'm easily distracted as well. So I could not pass that up. That was some crazy shit. So back to the story here. You have to be able to listen to people. You know what? Most people's wife doesn't listen to them. Their kids don't listen to them. Their employees don't listen to them. Their boss don't listen to them. Their friends don't listen to them. The people on social media don't listen to them, and so on and so forth. So, and guess what? When you're in sales, if you're the person that actually listens to them, you realize that people pay a therapist just to listen. I called Frank a few months ago, and I'm like, Frank, dude, my life's in a shambles. And he's like, dude, you have everything. It's like, listen, that doesn't matter. I need to figure out, like, I had a crippling drug problem for many years. You guys are going to laugh because we're in California, but I smoked marijuana as if it was cigarettes. Like, all day, every day. Like, 2 times ago, I was at the two previous times I was with Frank, I was at his house, and while everybody's conducting professional business, I'm rolling joints on his table and shit, smoking weed. And even Frank's like, dude, what the fuck, right? And you know if you get a what the fuck from Frank, you're in some serious shit. But I would smoke like 10 to 20 joints every single day. Like, literally, if Snoop Dogg was to come against me, he was fucked because I could whoop him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a smoker. And I had this revelation. It's like, dude, I got to quit. I've been smoking this shit for so long, and I was attracting people that, you know, smoked pot and did drugs, and they thought I was a functioning pothead. And I functioned at a high level, made millions of dollars smoking weed. Most people can't do that shit. Most people smoke weed and they go, do what? What are we talking about again? Right? But like, I wasn't that guy, and I used it as an excuse and a crutch because I come from, obviously, I'm damaged goods, in case you guys didn't get that from my story. And I had to quit smoking pot, and I realized that I was attracting the wrong type of people into my life because I was giving them excuses. And that was one of the tricks that the Force of Average had told me. It's like, hey, when you smoke weed, you're focused, which was actually the exact opposite now that I've sobered up. And I've been sober for quite a while, actually. Matter of fact, I showed up to Frank's office about a month ago, and one of the people in the group, she's like, yeah, I teach people how to quit drugs. And everybody in the room went and looked at me real quick. And I went, hey, I've been sober for like a couple months. Chill the fuck out. Like, I got my shit together. And then they all went, yeah, right. What is it, April Fools? Because I've been around for a minute as a member of their group. But the truth is, I had to clean up my shit. And so when I cleaned up my act, I realized that there was a lot of things that people do wrong in their life, right? Like, so when they go and they make a sales call, they don't listen to people. Right? I needed someone to listen to me. I called Frank and I said, Frank, man, I'm in trouble, dude. My life's in shambles. I need to quit smoking pot. It's the time for me to make this change. Who do I call? And he says, I'll give you one of my Rolls Royces to go see a guy named George Pratt. And I Googled George Pratt. This guy helped Rob Dyrdek, Phil Mickelson, Tony Robbins. He married Frank and Natalia. And so I paid this guy, like right now, about 10 grand so far, just to listen to me. Now, he's obviously fixed a lot of shit in my life, and if you get a chance, Brad's seen him as well. If you get a chance, he's a game changer. If you can afford him and you get a chance, he's a game changer. He's here in La Jolla. But I paid this guy just to listen to me. I'll tell him my story, and he'll go, okay, here's what you do. Rub your belly 7 times. We'll see you next week. I shit you not, but it works. The best thing he said to me was, he listens to me, so he sold me. The best thing he said to me is, he's like, you know, whether you believe in this shit or not, it's going to work. He's a little bit more articulate than I am. I'm from the South, but he's like, whether you believe or not, it's still going to work. And he's right, because I was like, this shit ain't going to work, but it fucking works, right? But so most people will pay therapists to listen to them, and then when we get on the phone with them as a salesperson, we just want to talk them into the sale. That's not going to work. He who speaks the least earns the most. You have to have empathy. The only way that a person can understand that you're empathetic towards their situation is if you listen to them. So how would you listen to somebody? By asking them questions and actually understanding their situation to where the light bulb goes off in their head and goes, oh shit, this person gets it. He actually listens to me. And then when you confidently diagnose their problem and say, hey, if you'll just buy my shit, it will fix your shit, and then we'll just celebrate this shit together, it changes the game for people. It really only takes 2 things. It doesn't take a fancy script, but if you'll start injecting empathy and confidence into your sales letters, if you'll start injecting empathy and confidence into the way that you have your VSLs, and if you'll start empathy and confidence into your strategy sessions, it will change the game for you. The next time you get on a sales call, when you get a lead, you get on a sales call, and if you're not calling your leads, that's insane. I know internet marketers who are like, but the phone and people, like even Frankie's like, wait, you talk to people, right? Like, yes. You know what? For every dollar that we make from online sales, like, like people that just went through an email sequence and a buy button, we make 53 for every time my salespeople pick up the phone. And my salespeople pick up the phone and they're like, hey, what made you decide to reach out? Awesome. How long you been dealing with that? Man, how much longer are you willing to go through that? They just ask them open-ended questions and getting people to talk. There's two types of people in this world. The type of people you say, hey, what made you decide to reach out? And they go, I'm just checking things out. Which those guys are going to give you objections and everything else, right? My favorite is when you're like, hey, what made you decide to reach out? And they're like, well, it all happened in 7th grade. And then you just shut up, put the phone on mute, and 30 minutes later, they're like, so are you going to take my money or what? Right? Like, those are the people that are looking for an actual solution because they don't have their guard up. They're actually trying to tell you their shit because you're actually listening to them. And then they're like, dude, this guy gets it. And you could be totally not getting it. But they feel like you got it because you actually listened to them for the first time in a long time. So here's what I like to do. I got about 5 minutes left. I want to give away a few of my books. These are books about sell it and scale it. It's about how I went from a salesperson to a CEO. What I'd like for you to do is come stand up in the middle of the aisles here, 1 or 2 of you, 5, 10 of you, however long we can do. And I want you to tell me what you sell, what your number one objection is. I want you to tell me your name first, what you sell, and what your number one objection is. And I'm going to give you a rebuttal to that objection. Does that sound fun? Right? All right, so come on, line up somebody. Y'all got microphones in the back that you can give these folks? I know I just kind of sprung that perfect. So somebody stand up. Come on. Everybody that asks, I'm going to give you a book. I got books for you. Come on, stand up. Tell me what your name is, what you sell, and what the number one objection you get in your business is, and I'm going to give you the word track. And we'll do this for about 5 or so minutes. And here we go. We'll start with this gentleman right here. What's your name, sir?
My name is Gregory Wright. Sometimes you can call me Always, First, whatever.
All right. What do you sell?
I sell DFY Facebook advertising.
Facebook advertising. All right. What's the number one objection you get in your business?
Will this work?
What is what?
Will this work?
Will this work? So that's not an objection, that is a question. However, one thing I know, everybody, and I'm going to teach you as we go through this, the best thing you can do is always respond with a question, right? So when somebody says, will this work? It's like, do you run ads for them to reach out to you?
That's correct.
The first thing I would say was, well, it worked for you, and you seem like a smart person, and we're here on this phone call. What do you think?
Exactly.
Right? Have you ever tried that line with them?
Slightly different language, yes.
I mean, you have to have them have that light bulb moment. It's like, will it work? Well, you seem like a smart person, and then you're here on this phone call with me through a Facebook advertisement, so you tell me, and then let them have that revelation. So here, let me give you a book, my man.
Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause for showing up being number one. All right, next up, over here.
My name is Grace Gillespie, and I own a company called Muscle Vodka. It's a vodka company.
Muscle Vodka.
Yes.
I would have never guessed.
And I own a gym as well. And my biggest objection is trying to keep up with distribution. So right now with my distillery, they can't keep up enough production for me to distribute.
Gotcha.
We went from this to this, like, really quick, and I'm trying to just keep grounds on it.
So your biggest objection is, well, we're worried that you can't keep enough of what your product in stock with us, right?
Right. So, like, I have orders, but I can't keep up with production yet.
Gotcha.
Because I'm still new to the business and figuring it out because nobody knows anything about liquor.
Gotcha. Well, what I would say is if they were to come to me and they were to say, well, our biggest problem is we can't keep up with the volume that you sell, first thing I'd say was, well, why don't you just triple your prices?
Why don't I?
Yeah,
Well,
no, I would ask them. It's like, well, why don't you just charge more so that even when you run out, you got paid 3 times as much. We don't have to restock you, but you're still making even more money.
Well, because some states it's regulated, they tell you what you can.
That damn states and their regulations.
You
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like the IRS. But so they're saying, hey, if you guys don't have enough supplies for us, but you can't raise your prices, so that's against the
Right.
law. Okay, we don't want to break the law.
States.
Okay,
It's
gotcha.
the number 2 most regulated thing in the world, second to sewage, is liquor.
Gotcha. No, you're true. They even have to scrape the thing off the bottom of the stamp there. So, well, what I would say is, hey, well, guess what? We're extremely popular brand, and if you'll put in an order right now, we'll put you on the waiting list so that your competition doesn't have more stuff than you do at this moment, so that you'll be ahead of them.
That's nice in theory.
Yeah, it's theory. Hey, theory's all good until somebody proves it wrong, right? Yeah, there you go. All right, let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Who else we got? You, sir.
So we sell hypnotherapy and mindset coaching.
Okay.
And people's biggest objection is everyone else has mindset issues, but I don't.
Everyone else has mindset issues, but I don't. Really? Well, so what makes you think that you don't have mindset issues?
Because this excuse that excuse. It was bad luck.
Bad luck. I hear you. And you know what bad luck is? Bad luck is a habit that is created from your mindset, and that is exactly why you're here on this call, and that is exactly what I can help you with. A lot of the biggest trick of the force of average is for people to think that they don't need a solution to the problem that they actually have, and the fact that we're having this conversation and that you're blaming your circumstances on some fake shit called luck is even more proof that you do have a mindset problem, and I'm just the motherfucker to help you, you know? So. We all fucked up in the head. We can all agree on that, right? Who's next? You. Yes.
I'm Dr. Kyla Dillard, and I teach men how to give women extended orgasms.
Awesome. What the fuck kind of objections do you get? What kind of selfish fucking dudes are you selling to?
They say, well, that works for you, but I don't have your confidence. And I say, if you can make a woman unable to speak for an hour, you'll get that confidence.
Well, I don't know how I can top that one. You know what I'm saying?
I just want the book.
Here's what I'd say. Are you married, sir? Yes, I'm married. Would you like your wife to shut the fuck up for once in her life? Yes. Let me show you how to make that happen. And how can I buy your shit? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Orion.
I never got that one before. I have a client that sells dildos, and he threw me off one time, but that one was really good. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Orion.
Nice to meet you.
I teach retailers how to take their money and move it from inventory to the bank.
Okay.
And what I get a lot is, well, you don't understand how it works here.
Absolutely. You know what? I do not understand how it works because I'm not in your business, but I'm in the banking relationship business that allows people like you to make their money work for them, because I know that if you save money, you'll actually end up with less money. Matter of fact, sir, there's a story in the Bible where a man was blessed with 10 talents, another man was blessed with 5 talents, and another man was blessed with 1 talent. The man with 10 talents went out and turned his 10 talents into 100 talents, and he found favor with the king. The man that had 5 talents went and turned his 5 talents into 10 talents, found favor with the king. The man that had 1 talent buried his talent, and the king had him beheaded. You know why? Because he didn't know what to do with his money. I know what to do with your money. That's why you should use me. Went a little biblical on you, but that's some real talk. You don't have to know other people's business. All you have to know is your business. And you know what? The one thing, I sold mortgages for a long time. I've been in finance for a long time. And what I know is that people hate getting rid of the one thing that they've worked their ass off for. That's money. But if you can show them that you are a good steward of money and that you can actually help them grow that money on top of their business. See, I thought you were going to tell me that your number one objection is, well, I get more money by investing my money back into my business. But we all need some kind of asset protection, and we all need a multiple stream of income and a backup plan. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, that too, then. So, all right, last one, and then I'll get off the stage here. There's negative here. They're like, get off.
My name is Marina DiGiovanni. I teach lifestyle influencers how to create and sell online courses.
Okay.
And their number one objection is that they don't believe they can do it. They don't believe that someone will pay them $997 or even $97 for something that they've created.
You know, I've been in that. How many people in this room have been in that situation where we didn't think somebody would pay us? It was, I'll tell you a quick story. In 2009, I was with a gentleman named Mike Reese. And Mike Reese showed me Frank Kern. And then 2011, I lost my mortgage license. Or 2010, I lost my mortgage license because obviously being a federal inmate and federal licenses transferred from state to federal. And they were like, not today, Stewman. And so I lost my federal license. And Mike said, well, why don't you get people to, why don't you teach people, you were a badass loan officer. Why don't you just teach people to do what you did? And I said, well, nobody's going to want to learn what I did. That same objection that you got right there. And he said, but you're successful. Why wouldn't people want to learn? And I told him, but look, I've been taking business from people in this city forever. And he said, yeah, that's fine. But why wouldn't you want to help people in other cities, in other states, in other areas? So the objection, the way to handle that objection is, sir, ma'am, do you feel like you have a talent that you need to share with the world? Yes. Then why would you be so selfish to not want to share that talent with them and help enrich other people's lives in the same manner that your life's been enriched?
Good answer.
Awesome, awesome. Well, here you go. Here's the book. Thank you very much. That's my time. They're telling me to get off the stage. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Hopefully you got something from that, some value, and I hope I changed your mind and entertained you a little bit at the same time.
That was fucking great, dude.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
One of the funniest things I've ever heard. Some of y'all are probably the friend. When you were talking about the dudes, I was literally crying laughing.
I can see you back there.
I was like, holy shit, Brad. Like, I can't believe he just said that. Ryan Stewman, ladies and gentlemen.
Never a dull moment with
doing
me.
so
Thank
good.
you guys very much.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm a marketer, and I lied to you when I said we're going to take a break at 3. We're not going to take a break. We're going to keep working because we got good momentum here. Thank you for all. That was awesome, dude. You got the momentum up so good. Here's the thing. Let me make sure Jim's in here. I can't see it. Jim in here? Okay, good. My eyes have gone to crap. Apparently, you're supposed to go to the eye doctor and get them examined every 10 years or something. Here's the thing. We come to events like this, you get a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of information, and then you forget it, or at least I do. I actually forget what I did like 37 minutes ago. Our next guest is an unbelievable speaker. He helps people process and retain information, which is a really fancy way of saying helps you actually get the results you want to get from experiences like this, but a lot faster and with a lot greater consistency and a lot better of a degree of predictability. He has personally worked with world-famous entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. He regularly helps celebrities such as Will Smith, the dudes from the X-Men, the Steven from Aerosmith, the list goes